Hello, everybody. All my friends all over the world. Wow. Matteo, you are first today. Sonke, you didn't make it first. David, Sami, my friend, Mark. Oh, I got a reminder. It says you have to go live now. Got a reminder from YouTube. So I was trying to fix my iPad. For some reason, I get a black screen and I cannot get the white screen because I wanted to draw. And it just doesn't happen. I don't know. Too late now to fix it, I guess. So I'll have to draw with my mouth speaking. So how is everybody? I wrote here that it'd be the most interesting Sunday. Now, if you notice that in my description. And I'll try to do that, to make it the most interesting Sunday. You know, I found something from a long time ago, and I think it was by Stephen Covey, something that Eisenhower said, and he made a diagram of 4 quadrants where he put what's important and what's urgent. And kind of shows that whatever is urgent is most of the time not important, and what's important is most of the time is not urgent. And I'll get back to it here when I talk about how you are brainwashed, that you are always missing something. Something is lacking, and this is how everything is sold to you. But before we go there, you know, in the Matrix, what's his name? I forgot the name of the big guy there. Anyway, he tells Morpheus, he tells Neo, there is a splinter in your mind, and it bothers you, like you really cannot stand it, and you don't know why. And then he goes into explaining that the reason for it is really because he lives in the Matrix, he's aware of it in his subconscious, but he's not aware of it in his conscious life, right? But he knows in the back of his mind somewhere that something is wrong, something is different, something is missing out of this whole picture. And I think that we have the same issue. We all have this splinter. With me, it started a long time ago. And almost everybody, well, I shouldn't say very few, but many people have that splinter because you live in this reality, which is absolutely amazing if you compare it to nothingness, right? I mean, this is unbelievable stuff. And yet, there is no explanation for it. Like, there is lots of research explaining what it does, just like in my metaphor with the sealed clock. Whoever saw it, I think it's called the preface to the book there, and I talk about the sealed clock. And hi, Mayor. And what I was saying there is that, you know, if you took a sealed regular clock, like the most simple clock in the world that we have here on Earth, but if it was totally sealed and all people could see is the outside, the face of it, and you took it to the highest, most advanced intelligence in the universe, by the way, I don't believe there is any other intelligence, but suppose for the metaphor, and they would spend 6 months trying to figure out what's in that clock, they would come up with designs for an amazing clock that we could never think about, but they would never ever come anywhere close to what really was in that clock. And we have the same issue with science, right? It comes up with all these amazing explanations for everything. And if most of the things, if you reverse engineer, they will work. But science has absolutely no clue what is in this clock. It's called our reality. It's called the universe. It's called all that. So I want to get a little bit into how I understand it. And I said in a previous video that by understanding, you actually get out of that box with the four walls of birth, death, and to infinities of the universe and the very small, right? And we are in that box, and we cannot escape. And that's why we have that splinter, because we know inside that there is something out of the box. But there's no way to pick out there. And the only way to pick out there is with your imagination, with your observation, I would say more observation, and then you can use your imagination. But you have to observe. And one day I'll tell you exactly what I mean by observing. But let me just see if I can get this iPad to work again. You know what, I'll restart it and see if I can get it one, because it's, I like to draw. They say that if you want to keep an Israeli or an Italian quiet, tie his hands behind his back. Then he will be quiet, because he cannot talk without his hands. And I'm like that too. So the iPad is kind of the expression of my hands. I just restarted the thing, see if it's going to work now. I set it to dark mode, and when I try to bring the screen to draw on, it's black. And even if I put a white pen, it doesn't show anything. So that's the issue. Hey, Malcolm, Sabrina, May with the 3 hearts. Well, I think you have one, but it's quite big. All right. So what I want to get into to start with, I mean, everything starts from the foundation, right? If you build something, you start from the foundation. You don't start from the top. And the foundation to this whole thing, and this is all, again, my subjective understanding, opinion, and you all decide how you want to think about it, but it will give you something to start from. So, in my, how many of you saw it, but I did publish 2 chapters of that book that I'm always talking about, right? And I talked there about 2 gods. There are actually 2 gods. And what I mean by that, and I want to explain that because this is part of that foundation, because what I'm saying is that there is a programmer, a creator, a super consciousness, God, you can call it any of those names, everything works, right? And that entity, like I said in my last video, and I think that few of you actually kind of made you think, I said there is absolutely nothing except that entity. That's the only thing that exists. And everything that we perceive is actually in that entity. And I call it's a dream that God is dreaming. And because it is such a high intelligence, such high, almost infinite type of consciousness, it can create this whole thing, including us, which are really segments or segments or parts of that consciousness. Our consciousness is part of that large consciousness. And as such, you also have to realize that when an intelligence or a consciousness creates something, it will always create something which is similar to itself. It will not create something which is totally different because it doesn't have it. It's a human thing, and it's a God thing as well. Many things that are human it's the same with God. It's and I don't even want to refer to the Bible where it says that we were created in His image and all that. Never mind that. So why I said that is that the reason we dream is the reason why we dream. It's not just happened by evolution. Evolution has no reason to make us dream because it doesn't really help us in any way, defend ourselves against a lion. So the reason we dream is because that's part of the attributes that God has, okay? And many of those are actually transferred to us. The whole idea of even internet and the connectivity and the simulations that we do, it's all because we have that same intelligence on a lower level, right? And what it is, why I'm saying there's two gods, is because the God I'm talking about, the programmer, or call it the big God, right, is everything. So that God could not really come and talk to you, or talk in the Bible, or any of these things. He couldn't really do, because it's everything. How would it be, all of a sudden appear as a human? So in order to have some kind of higher level management of this reality of the humans, right? As this reality was created, there was also a God which is a part of this reality. But this is not really the God that I'm always talking about. So we have to separate that, okay? Anything to do with religions, it's the God that was created in order for us, to keep control of us in some ways. Because if in Hebrew we say when somebody is like a killer or does things, we say, well, he has no God. So that means really in reverse that if there is a God and people believe in God and they believe that, if they are bad, God is going to kill them or make them sick and so on and so on. And religious people are like this to this day, right? They everything, like I know in the Jewish tradition, anybody who is religious, everything they say, oh, I'll see you tomorrow, God with God's help. And I think it's also in the Islam is the same way, Inshallah, God willing. And that's really why originally that God was inserted into our reality, so that we have something to refer to and that we feel that somebody's looking at us all the time. Today is not so relevant, I think, because we are too advanced in technology and science, and it's not as relevant as it used to be, right? People go to church, they go to synagogue, but they don't really look up there and say, oh, God is watching me. Oh, it's not there anymore. But why am I telling you all this? First of all, I want you to kind of try and figure out where you are and what's going on. Foggy Witch is in Germany. And it is. Matteo, sorry, I mixed you up with somebody else. I said Foggy Witch. There is another thing, witch here, something else. So why I'm telling you all this is because, I don't know how many of you saw that part 2 of the big book that I posted, but I show in there like an infinity sign, like an 8, lying on its side. And I was kind of using it as a metaphor where we start from one end of that 8, and God separates, he goes up, we go down, and he's controlling us. And then when we come to the cross of the 8, right, then the roles reverse. And this is where we are today, where we are at the top, actually, and God is at the bottom just experiencing everything, but he's not doing anything. And that's why I'm saying that, he needs to be kind of woken up so he realizes that he's God, because at some point when he got into this reality, he had to cut the cord and not remember that he's God, because if he did, he couldn't really experience this reality. There is no way you can experience something if you know that you are somewhere else and you are a higher level. Then you just don't experience it, because you know that anytime you can get out of it. So all the pressure and the emotional experiences don't exist. And on that diagram, I also showed that at the very end, when the 8 comes back together again, this is basically the end of this reality. It's not the end of the world, and it's not the end of, it's nothing bad in it. It's just that this reality that was basically driven mostly by conflict, the conflict was inserted at the very, very beginning between people, between languages, like even in the Bible, if you look at the Tower of Babel, where God says, that it says that God spread everybody all around the world, and he made them speak different languages, so they don't speak the same language. So if you look at this kind of this was the very beginning. And later, God says to the Israelites, when you get to the land of Israel, Canaan, you have to kill everybody, children, animals, everything. Don't leave anything alive, blah, blah. So it shows you that this reality was basically, the action in it was based or driven by conflict. And that went for a few thousand years, but we arrived at the point where that engine doesn't work anymore. And why it doesn't work anymore is because we won't get any new experiences if there is going to be a billion people killed by some nuclear war. It's not going to create any different experience that happened in, let's say, in Hiroshima. Okay? And again, remember, for God, there's no good and bad, or bad and good. There's no such thing. There's only the experiences. That's it. It's only us here that have this good and bad thing. Because we have a body, and it's easy to make it bad for us, right? As soon as the body hurts or does something, then it's bad. So, as I said, we arrived at the end of that reality, not because we got smarter or we got it's nothing to do, it's not us that make that decision. It's actually the one that created this whole thing, makes that decision, because actually he is now up and he's out of that dream himself, and he now goes with us to the next phase. And what is the next phase? Since we're not going to achieve anything by conflict anymore, and since we arrived at a very high, relatively speaking, or the highest intelligence or intelligent level from creation, right? We were never more intelligent than we are today. Or tomorrow will be even more intelligent. Because it's not only technology, but it's the ability to comprehend concepts that we couldn't comprehend before. Right? I mean, even the concept of God, and we can comprehend today. We could not comprehend it before. Because in the old days, God was some kind of a superhuman, Superman. And if you read again in the Bible, it says God is a hero. He can destroy everything. He can move mountains, and so on and so on and so on. So it's described more like a superhero, like a Hercules type thing, or Samson. And today we are more prepared to really understand what is God without using religion, because religion is a distraction, and it's actually what religion did is it stepped between us and the understanding of God and told us you can never understand God, you have to go through us. We are the agents. We are the sales representatives of God. We are the agents, and we have exclusivity. Okay? You cannot buy God from anywhere else. You have to buy it from us. And this is what religion did, and it actually caused people to separate from God. Because I talk to many people, on my Talk for Life, and the majority of people I talk to grew up in some kind of a religious environment, and they all now come out and realize that it actually ruined their life, because it implanted all kind of ideas in their mind that are not true. And when they realize that, and today they are maybe 40, 50, 60, it's very hard to live with that, realizing that you spent more than half of your life with the wrong concept. So let me go back to the two gods. It's very important. Let's see if I can use that iPad, because I really wanted to draw something for you. See if it's going to work. No, it still comes dark. Well, let's see. I'll try once more. New note. Okay, I have a new note, but I cannot draw on it. It's really weird. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can change that. Pencil, drawing finger, auto minimize, pencil setting. All right, well, we'll have to do without it. You know what, actually I'll take, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It could be that it's a plug issue. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll plug in my iPhone. It's better than nothing. Just bear with me for a minute. Click to start. Okay, let's see if we can do that. Yeah. All right. So here we go. There we go. So let's see if we can draw. Yes, we can. Don't have the pen, but it's, like I said, better than nothing. So let me go back to myself here. There. Sorry for that. That's what I am. I do everything in the last minute, you know. So I came and sat here at my desk like 5 minutes before 11, and it was didn't have enough time to get things set up. But that's how I do stuff. So cannot change now. I mean, I could, but I probably don't want to. All right. So going back to that thing is the reason I brought it up is that what you have to realize is that because he created that other God, and I would, you know, I'll try to draw here. I would say that if this is the, okay, let's say this is, just 1 second. What am I doing wrong here? Why can't I draw? Just 1 second. I'll make it blue. Okay. So if this is the God, the main God, we call it, right? The God that created everything. And then he created this other God inside here. So that's the big G, and this one here is the small g. Okay? And this whole thing is our reality. Okay? And like I said, this is the big God, which is everything. And then we have this one here, that's the one in the Bible and all that. The problem, or not the problem, the reality is that the change in reality comes obviously from the God here, because the whole reality is going to change. But there are some dynamics that were created by the little God through the Bible, and they became part of our reality, right? And that that God that controls and actually runs with us here, or he did at least, he made certain promises, he made certain arrangements, he made certain, you know, and before the big reality can change, these things have to be balanced out. They have to be fulfilled. And those things are more human things. And you know, I don't want to get into what it is, but if you read the Old Testament, and I will actually post where you should read, because at the end of the Torah, in the 5th book, just before Moses dies, there is a passage there where God says to Moses, here is a poem that I'm going to give you. God says to Moses. So it's not that Moses wrote that poem. He says, I'll give you a poem, and I want you to teach the Israelites that poem, because that poem is going to be in them for me, for God, to connect back one day when I come back and you come back from all your sins or whatever, and your exiles and all that. You'll remember me through that poem, because it will go into your DNA. And it's called actually Listen, the Heavens and Earth. It's like a poem, and actually it's almost the end of the book. And that poem has past, present meaning what was present then, and future, which is now. And it's very explicit. It says exactly what will happen to the Israelites, but it affects the whole globe, really. Another thing that I want to say is about that God is that the small God dealt mostly with the Israelites there. Like, he didn't really picture the whole world. It didn't talk about India or other cultures that existed at that time, right? I don't know if India existed, maybe, but it focused only on the Israelites and the Hebrews. And when you read that poem, I don't know how good the translation is because it's a very, very tough one. They use lots of deep words. Peace and love, Margaret, yes, peace and love is good for everybody. Except that most people don't practice it. But that will change. So, like I said, in there you will see the future as well. Okay, and until that future, those promises that are there are not fulfilled and balanced out, we will not switch to the next reality. Because it's like in a play, right? If you have a play, you cannot start a new play before you sorted out everything in this play. You cannot switch, right, and start a new play and try to fix something or deal with something that was in the previous play. It just doesn't work. And that's why, I wanted to tell you about the two gods, because there's also two segments of the switch to the new reality, that one has to be fulfilled first. I think that maybe there are streams in Christianity. I think the what are they called? Like the really extreme ones that they believe that the Christian Messiah, Jesus, is not going to come until the Jewish Messiah comes. And that's why they support Israel. The angelic, how do you call them? It's mostly in the US. They support Israel and they send lots of money to Israel. And the reason for it, I spoke to these people, is because they believe that the Jews have to get their Messiah first before Christian Messiah will come. That's their belief. And it's kind of, in a way, reflects these two stages in some way. And now I'll just summarize that and tell you why I told you all that. Beside the fact that I wanted you to kind of grasp better where you are, that splinter, so you don't, listen to all this. There's lots of noise out there. And it really distracts you from observing and seeing things for what they are. You see, I am here, and I started this whole thing maybe 10 years ago with the sole purpose of changing the world. And I'll come back to that concept through reality transurfing and all these things as well. Like I'll do a full circle and come there. But let me just finish here with the big picture. Like I said many times, maybe you got tired of it, but I know something which nobody knows, which is extremely significant. And I decided to use that knowledge to change the world. The thing is, they always say the devil is in the details, right? And same applies here. So it's the last mile, like they call like when they create any kind of a system that goes into the house, whether it's cable or electricity or TV or phone, it's the last mile. I mean, it's easy to put the infrastructure in place, but it's the last mile which is the problem, because you have to go into every house and you have to drill and go through the wall and bring it somewhere. So the last mile is always the problem. And this is the details I'm talking about, like the devil is in the details, right? So I have all this, and I've been building towards it. Everything I do here, and again, like I said, I'll come back to it in a minute from a practical aspect to show you something, what I did as far as achieving a big goal, because that's the ultimate goal. I mean, there's cannot be a bigger goal than changing the world, right? Like, what else can... So that would be way above that line of impossibilities for anybody, including myself. So how did I deal with it? And I'll talk about it in a minute. But I realized only in the last few weeks that what I really need to do, because it was very complicated. Okay, so you will know the secret and that, so how will that change the world? And it really didn't I couldn't see, I'm very practical, so I couldn't see that as a solution. and it was my splinter, right? But I realized over the last couple of weeks that what I really need to do is very simple. What I need to do is convince with some kind of or put it this way, I have to show as many people as I can that there is such a thing as God without using religion and without coming across as somebody who is preaching what was preached for the last, I don't know how many thousands of years. Like, it's not that. I want to bring it from a pragmatic perspective in a way that everybody can, well, maybe not everybody, but almost everybody will be able to connect to it through logic. Through logic, through observation, not through some beliefs and feelings and emotions. Those are great. This is how we connect with God. But those are not enough for somebody to change their way of life or to change the world, right? Okay, we all believe there is a God, and we feel once in a while that God is here and he talks to us and these miracles happen. But this is not the way I want to do it. I need to bring it in a way that you will not be able to argue it even from a scientific perspective. And this is what dawned on me, that this is what I need to do. I actually this is my only task, because if I can do that, then I achieved my goal of changing the world, okay? So let's leave this one there, and I will do it. Believe me, I'll do it. Everything that I set myself, that I set for myself to do, I did, and I'll do that one too. Going back to reality transurfing and all this manifesting things. So like I said, I'll just go back to the drawing board here for a minute. Okay. Here we go. Let me just clear it. I'll start a new one. Delete. And here we go. Just 1 second. Okay. So I'm back here. And, as you remember, I always come up with this line. I call it the horizontal line of impossibilities. And like I said, everything above, we cannot reach. We don't believe we can reach. I shouldn't say we cannot. And everything below is very simple, right? So I set myself to do something which is totally like out there, changing the world, right? And that line for me was like, whoa, very, very thick. Like, how the hell are you going to change the world? And as I taught you in the past, and I talked about the salami concept, right? Where I said you chop it into small pieces because you cannot just jump across the line. It doesn't work. Your subconscious won't let you. So what did I do? Well, what I did, you see, I'm on it now since, I don't know, like I said, probably at least 10 years. So first of all, I developed this whole concept in my mind. The first step that I did to try and cross that line, I came up with this whole idea of healing olive. And what it was, many of you know it because many of you actually follow me since that time. I remember all the names. And I got caught up in the comments here for a minute. And what I did there was mostly, call it proof of concept for myself. And that's why I also did it for free. I said, anybody that wants, I'll send them this healing olive, send me your picture, and it will change your reality. And it was a proof of concept for me to see that I actually can change people's reality, to kind of prove to myself that there is more in this clock that I can see, that there is many layers in this reality that are not visible or touchable or detectable in any way with the five senses. And I did that for a couple of years, and I did prove to myself that that's the case, because the feedback I got was totally amazing, like unbelievable what happened to people. And I continued on that line as well, because I did many things and many miracles happened to me. Like I actually wrote them all down somewhere. But when I read the things that happened to me, it actually brings me back to be very, very strong and very, very positive. I do that once in a while. After that, I did something called the Drop of Youth. And then I started with these videos, right? And what I'm doing in these videos, really, I am moving forward or upwards across that line together with you, because I get your feedback. And I can see that what I say resonates with many people. And when I say resonates, what it means is when I talk about the two gods or I talk about the nothingness, I get lots of feedback, not necessarily in public, but I get lots of feedback, privately, where people say, look, this really, really resonates with me. I feel that this is true. This kind of feedback raises me up to come across that line. And slowly, by doing all these different steps, I am today in a position that the line doesn't exist for me as far as changing the world. I can see that I can do it. But 10 years ago, it looked like, I'm going to walk to the moon on a ladder. But by doing it with the salami concept, by different, doing different steps and different things, and, I just mentioned a few of the major ones, but I did lots of other things, like, even when I talk to people today, and, people that come to Talk for Life, even if I do it for money or not for money, because, I do it by donation as well, that also moves me forward, because I can see the impact that I have on people. And, many of the people are here, and, they can attest to it. Everybody has an impact. And that tells me that there is more than just what I see and what I feel, what I smell or what I touch. And that brings me higher and higher. So in summary of that part, I wanted to say one thing, and it's very, very important that you realize that. This reality is created with some rules, like I said. And one of the main rules is that you cannot manifest anything just by mental activity. It has to be mixed with physical activity. You have to take action. And, I may repeat myself, but in the Bible, in the Torah, wherever God says to Moses to perform a miracle, it's always, he does it through the physical. He says, raise your, what do you call it? The stick. Anyway, and hit the rock, or hit this, or throw some earth in the air, and it will become bugs. There is always a physical action. There is never like thing that happen just mentally. So even if you go back to the pyramids, about which I talked in one of my videos, and I said the pyramids were made because Pharaoh was mentally able to actually change reality. But even there, he still needed to use workers. Maybe he made those big rocks very light for them, but he still needed to use workers to do it. So he couldn't do it just like for the stones of the pyramids to fly up there and place themselves in there. And that's very important to realize for everybody, that, you may read Reality Transurfing, and, Neville Goddard tells you, like, if you close your eyes and you imagine something and you picture it and you open your eyes, it will be there. Well, that's, that doesn't happen, and it doesn't work like that. You have to imagine, you have to picture, you have to visualize, but you have to act, just like I did with the healing olive, etc., which was, by itself, it was also something that I needed to cross the line, because it was kind of crazy. I went on the internet out of the blue. I had a website, and I said, well, I'll send you this oil and change your reality. Just send me your picture. And that's why, even though I designated 1,000, I only did 400. People were very hesitant. Like, it didn't look, it didn't make sense. I mean, you have to be courageous to go to somebody and say, okay, send me that oil, and I will do whatever. I put it on my forehead and my heart, and, every day, and it will change my reality. But, so, coming back to you. If you want to manifest anything, you want to achieve anything in your life, set the goal as high as you can, and then start with small steps, but they have to be physical. You cannot just sit there and imagine and pray or do whatever. If you don't act on it, it's like I always say, if you don't move your car, if it's parked, then God cannot help you steer it. It has to be moving. All right. Let me just see the comments here a little bit. Okay, space for questions. Matteo, back to focusing on your creation. How to feel more pleasantly inside more of the time. That's good. You don't say all the time. Okay, well, I'll come back to these questions in few minutes. Let me just touch on a few more topics here that are connected to what I was talking about before I lose momentum. I also wrote myself here what I put in the description, so I at least cover what I promised to cover. Okay, I said that the multiverse, I was going to talk about the multiverse, and I'm not talking about the multiverse the way it's described today. But what I wanted to say is, the multiverse, in essence, what the concept says is that there is you in every possible situation and pause or every possible reality in one of those multiverses, which are infinite. So there's an infinite number of universes, and in each one of those, you are different person. Like you are in a different. You are maybe healthy. You are sick. You are older. You are younger. There is every possible option of you in one of those universes. That's really what the multiverse says on that level. Even though it comes from from a different theory, and what I wanted to say is that in reality, like, I don't believe in this kind of multiverse. That's nonsense, because nobody can ever prove it. So you can say it as much as you want. If it makes you happy to feel that you are a billionaire in some other reality, well, so be it. It doesn't change your life here, does it? But where it can be used, and it's true, is that in this reality, without going out of this universe, there is any kind of a person you can imagine. From the one that will, donate both his kidneys to save somebody, to the one that, yesterday, before yesterday, somebody went in Buffalo, in New York, and killed 10 people because they were black. So all the way to this kind of a person, and everything in between. You will find any kind of personality, character you want. That's a real multiverse. Okay? There is absolutely nothing missing there. Just a thought that I had. Okay, how I slide might change the world, that I already talked about. Yes, somebody asked me, maybe it was in the last Sunday, somebody asked me, like, okay, you are out of that box with the 4 boundaries. What does it feel like? What is it like? And I'll tell you what does it feel like. You are always healthy. And if you have anything, it's just a temporary thing, because you believe that you have a mission to accomplish, and you believe that, you understand that nothing is random, and it feeds on itself. When you believe that way, and you believe that nothing is random, and you believe that you have something to accomplish, and because of that nothing will hit you, then you are not afraid to die. You don't get sick in any serious way. And if you do, you just come up with an explanation which is not of that kind of a serious problem, and it will become that. Try that once in a while. Like, if you have something, just come up with an explanation for it, which is something not serious, and it will become that, because you have to give it a channel to go through, right? And it's also the best anti-aging medicine when you are out of the box, because you don't feel that you are attached to the powers of this reality that can drag you here and drag you there, just like waves in the ocean. You feel that you are out of it, and it makes a big difference on your life. You don't have any ego, or maybe just a little bit. You don't argue with people, you don't fight with people, and that's really in my personality. That's why I come across the way I come across, because that's what I believe. So this is what it's like to be out of the box. Okay, one more topic which I really, really want to talk about, because it's very important for you, for all of us. And I touched on it with the last few people that talked to me on Talk for Life, because I think it's extremely important for the quality of your life. And what it is, everything today that is sold to us, advertised to us, promoted to us, is based on the false assumption that there is something wrong with us. Okay, so if they sell you cosmetics, it's because you don't look good enough. If they sell you high heels, it's because you are too short, right? If they sell you black color for your hair, it's because your hair is wrong. You shouldn't be white. Even though you may be 90 years old, but you should have black hair. What the hell? Why do you want to have white hair and look like an old man? And so it goes, right? And then they give you all these courses. They tell you, we're going to teach you, you are depressed. We're going to teach you how not to be depressed. They already take the assumption, like they tell you, if you look on those books, they tell you, you are depressed, you are sad, you are weak, you are this, you are that. And it's a constant barrage from the day we are born that keeps telling us that something is missing. And, if we do this, or we do that, or we buy this, or we do that, we will get there. And, it's a joke that I really like. A professor in Israel, his name is Leibovich, he died already. He was very pragmatic, and he always had these arguments on TV with religious people. And they brought this concept of Messiah. And, he told that guy, he was, I think, the chief rabbi of Israel at that time. He told them, the Messiah will always come in the future. I guess you get the point, right? So here is the same thing. All these things they sell you, they will always fix you up in the future, but never in the present. And you spend your life, your money, your life, your energy, your effort to become something different, something better, something more, either nicer or taller or smarter or more, enjoying your time because you don't enjoy it right now. And many people push it to retirement, say, I'll do all these things. I'll travel to India and see all the snakes, when I retire. Then they retire, and there's no way they can go to India for many health reasons and otherwise. And the point I want to make is the way you are today, okay? And if you don't believe it, come to me, I'll convince you. The way you are today is absolutely perfect. You don't need higher heels, and you don't need, any courses to change you, and you don't need anything. You just need to take what you have, which is an amazing machine, amazing tool, amazing machine maybe is not the right way, because we are not machines, but you are an amazing little God that can do anything. You can do anything. There's absolutely no reason why you cannot do what other, great people do, like Elon Musk or anybody. You're no different. It's just that what you think about yourself, because of that brainwashing, you think that you are missing something. So keep in mind, you're missing absolutely nothing. And if you need help, come to me. I'll show you that you're missing nothing. Not only you're missing nothing, you have way more than you ever believed that you have, and you can do unbelievable things. For me to come, and say I'm going to change the world, it's totally crazy, right? But you can do the same thing. You can come up with any goal and any idea and actually achieve it. It's just that, there's so many things stopping you, but you can get rid of them. I mean it. You really can. Okay? Okay. I'll tell you a little story before I get into the comments here and answering your questions. Last year, I told you I go up the mountain here every day, almost every day. And in the winter, it's icy and slippery, and we use those clip-ons on the shoes, so don't because I come down, and it's quite dangerous, right? It's steep. And one day I went up there and I forgot to take my my things. And, I came down on that ice, and what would normally take me like half an hour, it took me 2 hours because I had to really walk carefully. It was like extremely dangerous, all ice. It rained and then it froze. Anyway, eventually I got back to my car and I decided to stop on my way home at the place called the Superstore. It's like a Safeway. It's a big grocery store with a huge parking lot for a few hundred cars. So I went there. I got my stuff, and I had this bag with all my groceries. I put it on my shoulder. And I came out and I looked for my car. I forgot where I parked it, and I didn't look where I'm walking. And somebody spilled oil there or broke a bottle of oil. And I went from vertical to horizontal in no time. I smashed all my groceries. I smashed my shoulder. I bruised my ribs, my knee. And this is after coming down that mountain, with all the ice, and I fell in the parking lot. So. Anyway, that's a sharp turn that is actually created on you rather than you creating it. All right. I am going to come now to your questions. I'm also going to open up the questions that I think that we had a couple of questions here. Just give me a second. On the website. So I'm going to, there we go. Okay, I'm just going to look here. See, somebody posted here a picture of Donald Trump. I'm just on the internet. Okay, so I go to Talk for Life, testimonials and blog. Okay, let's see. I know that May asked a question, then she shortened that because it was a very long question. And she summarized that in the Does God, okay, she says, I just realized that I could ask this in a shorter way. Does God need every single individual consciousness? And is it only for the purpose of experiencing reality? Okay, does God need every single individual consciousness? She is asking. Okay. For some reason I'm not in focus here. Let me just see what the reason is. Okay, just give me a second here. I'll fix that. Okay. So, I think that question is really answered already through my description of God and all that. But what I said to May was the simple answer. If you are a director of a play, would you need every actor in it? There may be like 1,000 extras in it, but they are needed to create a certain reality or scene, right? Otherwise, why would you hire them? The real answer is that goes like this. God planted the seed of a big tree that he engineered and created with his infinite wisdom and imagination. Now he wants to see how it translates into physical tree. Does he need all those branches that come out of it? Okay, so that was my answer to that one. Now let me see here in the comments. What do we have? Matteo, you will feel much more pleasant, not as soon, but the more you realize, like I said earlier, that you are perfect, and you are perfect in the way because you are not perfect, okay? And you have everything that you need, and just stop looking for better time, better this, better that. Just take where you are and what you are and try to enjoy it, because this is your life. This is the reality. There is nothing out there, to look for, which is, because anything you will achieve, even if tomorrow you will start selling, all your art and get $1 million a day, it will last only for that long before you will look for something else. So you are there already. Okay, let's see here. You're sleeping. We have Sonia here from Sonke, from Croatia, and we talked a couple days ago, and she told me you have to breathe deep and you have to be more attentive, listen. And it was very good advice. And I would advise everybody to be more attentive and listen. When I say listen, it's not necessarily listening to what other people say, but listen to what happens and what comes your way. Be aware, because sometimes you get lots of input and messages and you're not listening. Choose neon color to dive in. Okay. It's kind of late now, but I should have looked earlier. Thank you, Vane. Okay, anything here? Attract me. The first is it's the logic pragmatism. Kevin. Hey, Kevin. How's your Saturdays thing going? I stopped reading it. Got too busy. Sami, how to synthesize real manifestation in 5 minutes. Call Shlomo. That's good. You know what? Maybe even less than 5 minutes. Thank you, Sami. It's part of the pendulum of the Black Lodge, and it is an unyielding barrage. Unyielding. Okay, Dilroba. I hope I pronounce your names properly. What if I'm seeing goals to get married with a celebrity, but I don't know what actions will make it happen? So just leave it to the source and live my life to start chasing them like fans. Well, you know what? If that was my goal, I would find the steps, okay, to achieve it. This is much smaller than changing the world. So if you wanted to get married with a celebrity, the first thing you want to do is maybe find make a list of potential celebrities that you would like to get married with. Make a list of 10, 20, 50, whatever it is. I don't know what the numbers are out there, right? Then take one at a time and see where do they eat, where do they drink, what do they do in the day. Like, never mind the celebrity status. They are still people. They go to the washroom, right? They have lunch, they have breakfast. And many people will follow their idols all over the world. Like, I know one of my sons here, he will go to Australia to see a performance by somebody that he really likes. So comes back again to that physical aspect of it. You cannot just do it by sitting there and thinking, this guy looks so nice on TV, I wish I could marry him. No, you actually take steps. And once you take those steps and you put some effort, or maybe a lot of effort, and that celebrity, one of them will realize how much effort you put into it, well, then it will come under the line. Okay? So it's not like you're saying here, okay, just leave it to the source. No, the source will help you, but first you have to help yourself. Okay? Okay, I think I answered the second question as well, where you say what action, what should you do? Just do whatever brings you closer. Sit down and think about it. Don't just try to imagine. That's most loving thing to hear. Thank you. Oh, okay. Matteo, Karen Dar, Shalom from Israel. Shalom uvracha. That's nice. Nice to see some people from my country here. I have a Hebrew channel. I didn't really put much effort into it. I put one video and I have 6 followers there. But I'm going to put much more effort there. So Shai Tal says in Hebrew, he says that the tree of happiness is embedded in the tree that you are growing on. Yeah, well, basically it's inside you. And Kila says, the first time catching my live video. Thank you, Kila. Daniel, lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. Yeah, the staff. That was the word I was looking for, the staff. I know like 3, 4, 5 languages, and it comes to me in a different language all of a sudden, and the memory says, well, I gave it to you, now go figure it out by yourself. So Okay, let me see if there is anything else on my list here that I wanted to touch on. No, well, I think it was a good Sunday. I think that I managed to express many of my concepts and thoughts that I had in my mind, and I hope that usually what I see happening is that after you listen to this is actually when you start to really hear it and understand that it's not while I'm talking; it comes later. Like I know it grows. It's like a sponge that got some water into it, and now it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. And really, this is the purpose of the whole thing. So, thank you very much for being here. I love you all, and I really, really, really hope to meet you very soon in a new reality, and you'll be some of the first ones to get there. All the best. Have a great week, and see you next Sunday, or hopefully in another video in between. Take care.